It's very difficult to explain. How can you explain feelings? That feel from the hurley, it runs up along the handle, into your hand, and really into your soul.
Hurling is very close to home. It's very personal.
Life should be about dreams. If someone is your hero, you dream of being them.
Nobody owns hurling. Hurling just lives.
It's in your heart. You can't live without it, really. It's part of your pulse, almost.
It's our DNA.
It's part of what we are.
History, you either think about it or you don't, and this team definitely didn't think about history.
Now look, I'm watching Limerick going around there and you're just saying, I hope they're not thinking of 45-year gaps.
We just wanted to win this 2018 All-Ireland on our own merits. I know it's ultimately people's dreams you could possibly be playing for.
Cian Lynch somehow got the ball, gets by the challenge, and Johnny Cohen's there in the lead.
We actually took the lead and we were winning comfortably. But Galway's great champions came back at us.
When I was young, I probably dreamt of winning 10 or 12 All-Ireland medals and winning them every year I go out. And that's just dreams. Obviously, reality is a lot more difficult than that.
Knocked away by Tom Morrissey. Tom going inside the large rectangle. Still Tom! Back in the net! Morrissey from behind!
We couldn't foresee that 10 minutes ago they really came back at us.
Can you watch? Can you bear not to watch? This is absolutely crucial. Here's Joe. Back in the net. Is this the moment? Can Galway get an equaliser? Here it comes. The sliotar is flying in. It's dropping inside the large rectangle.
Winning by a point probably made it sweeter.
The referee blows the book and whistle! Limerick are the All-Ireland champions, 2018!
I've given 10 years of service to Limerick and it just all came out in that 20-30 seconds. Just pure raw emotion.
When a final whistle goes and you've won an All-Ireland, that first 60 to 90 seconds, you just can't describe it.
You look at it's just one of those moments in time. It's emotional. You just wish it just could go on forever like that.
Just the joy. The joy. It's indescribable, it's indescribable.
Lifting that cup was the best experience of my life.
In its simplest terms, winning is hand the Liam McCarthy Cup in the car beside you, going into your primary school where you grew up. Whenever I have bad times at work or bad times in life, I think about when I brought the Liam McCarthy Cup down the village, took the safety belt off it because it's important to mind the Liam McCarthy Cup, picked it up and brought it into the school. That for me is winning.
it hadn't really hit home for me how special it was winning the Liam McCarthy Cup. That was the first time I ever got emotional since after the match.
Right, that's winning. Losing.
Once you lose, that's it. You didn't succeed, so you failed. Very simple.
This is what it feels like now.
John Kiley, congratulations. We saw you there with some of the supporters, with your family and friends. The emotion.
Croke Park is one of those places that it's one of the best places to be in the world when you win, but it is one of the loneliest places to be on this planet when you lose.
It hurts like a loss. People shouldn't underestimate that or think that you're so wrong to say that. In the pit of your stomach, it's like real pain.
Your whole life was put on hold for years to try and win All-Ireland for your county, and you're doing all that training. You're not doing that training for the laugh, you know.
You are inches away from everything that you wanted, and they have it.
You can say it's a sport, but you know, there's family involved in it, there's wives, partners. It's a knock-on effect when you lose, like, you know, I suppose people don't want to be around you for the couple of days. You're a different person.
It is a sport and it is a recreation, and it's not to be... One party says don't take it seriously, but I have had a rough year, Jerry. I was very sick for the last year. The previous year that Jerry, my younger brother, died, like, right? And you'd start to say, where is hurling in all of this, like? And at the far end of both episodes, I'm saying it's fucking more important than ever. Do you know what I mean?
I grew up, I suppose, born in 1963. I would have been too young to remember, you know, the great Tippett team of the 60s. But I was made very aware because my uncle, Pat, had been one of the really great players, and, you know, there was an old jersey of his out in the car shed. But it had this beautiful Tibberdoran stitched across the front of it. So we're aware of him and what his name was like in the game. Pat was considered to be, you know, a real stylist, and had won 3 All-Irelands in a row, 49, 50, 51.
These are the men who have won through in Munster.
The thing that grasped us was that he was so young when he captained Tipperary. I think he was about 23.
The Tipperary captain, Pat Stakelum, makes his way to the Hogan stand.
And he brought the cup home on the bar of the bike.
We salute the champions whose deeds have made history in Munster and in the All-Ireland series.
Tipperary had hugely successful teams.
Tony Wall accepts the cup from the president of the GAA.
They were the kingpins of hurling.
So Tipperary swept convincingly to their 20th All-Ireland success.
A truly great day for Tipperary.
It's a kind of way of life for me, you know. It's been a way of life since I was born, you know. Assembly in the morning, Principal used to talk to us about the potential of us, any of us walking behind the Artane Boys band.
There's the shot, Richie Bennett from 70 yards. And it's a good one. Limerick have won the Munster final.
I was a child of the 70s, really, growing up. They were my formative years. And Tipperary senior hurlers didn't actually win a game between 1973 and 1983. If you're very successful at a county level, you know, people will continue to do the same things as they have done for a number of years, and that's probably what happened with Tip. in the 60s, they had a successful formula, and they continued with that formula through the 70s. And when it wasn't working, then they started to panic.
Apart from the usual sea of red and white flags, the exuberance of their regouts and their mascots reflected the enormous confidence of a team which has a long history of success behind it.
Cork had come off a 3 in a row in the late 70s.
No, to be quite frank, we were in awe of them. You know, this crowd were still winning All-Irelands when we were winning nothing.
So that's the landscape we were coming into. We reached the Munster finals in '84 against Cork. That was one of the first huge games I ever played in, really.
Tipperary are playing with such bravery. This is Liam Maher, blocked by Tom Cashman. Liam Maher again. He's got the foot open. Liam Maher has put them in.
We were ahead of Cork.
Can Tipperary hold out?
Right up to the last minute or two.
Tomas Mulcahy. Gaz Hartnett is on his own. John Sheedy. Munster finals, and it's all over.
You know, that was a massive disappointment for Tipperary.
What changed was a kind of a force of nature in a guy called Babs Keating.
Michael Keating, 27 years of age and a native of Grange in Tipperary, is not only a star hurler and footballer, he's deeply committed to the Gaelic Athletic Association.
Babs Keating is probably the most self-confident human being I've ever met in my life. Just even listen to the name, Babs Keating. Babs Keating. You know, who in his right mind would ever call it Babs?
Welcome to Michael Keating. Michael Keating with it now from 20 yards down. They shot it and it's a goal!
We were probably invincible. That Tipperary team that I was lucky enough to emerge onto back in late '63. I had enough confidence, and I was able to back it up then with a lot of skill, and I was able to back it up with a lot of strength.
But this guy, you know, had played in All-Ireland final in 1971 in his bare feet.
And the barefooted wonder with the ball now.
We didn't have a selection of football boats like there is today. And shortly after half-time, an ale came up to one boat. So I had to discard one boat, two boats. Now it was a misty day. The socks are out over your toes. You have to take off the socks.
He was pulling on the ball under pressure.
It was a brave thing to do, but utter stupidity. I suppose it influenced me when I got into management. No player would be short of anything.
At Semple Stadium, where Offaly will meet Cork in the game of the century on Sunday, the finishing touches were being applied. The last strokes of a £500,000 improvements programme.
In 1984, Tipperary held the Centenary All-Ireland final. The Tip County Board had invested huge money into rebuilding the stadium, so the county board were broke, they had no money.
The secretary said to me, look, he said, you have the job now, but we haven't a shilling for a hurling ball.
Now you just think about this. Babs decided, well, if I want to get these guys whose confidence is on the floor, every time they see a Cork jersey, they won't win. Babs wanted to change all that. So he wanted to treat us like professionals. So we were bought free gear, free football boots. We got blazers and shirts and ties and shoes. We had a doctor, proper nutrition. Who do you want to make your hurley? Well, I want to get Fippy Kenny to make mine. We'll get him to make 6. 6? 6? Yeah, you get 6. And suddenly we started to feel, geez, you know, this is serious stuff. You know, where did this money come from? He raffled a racehorse. Think about this. Babs was selling a raffled ticket to win a racehorse. The tickets were £50 each. £50, like. So Babs raised about £125,000. He had a neck like a county council roller.
A sales representative in Limerick with a major petrol company, Michael comes into contact with lots of hurling and football people.
I was meeting Tipperary people in a desperate situation looking for success for Tipperary hurling. It sent a message to the players that people cared about them.
He was giving us the resources, but really in return he expected us to be able to perform.
Killarney 87. Cork were probably rated at 4-1 on favourites playing us in Killarney.
There's a terrific atmosphere around Fitzgerald Stadium, Killarney, as the lucky ticket holders are eagerly awaiting a game that's truly captured public imagination.
So we now have 3 championship games under our belt, and there was a sense that we have a real chance. This is not just a hit and hope now. We arrived with our blazers and our gear bags and our hurleys and our shirts and ties, and the Cork crowd went in their jeans and t-shirts.
You were up 5 points before the game started. That's the kind of effect it had on the lads.
Tip won the toss, elected to play with that breeze behind them in the first half. John Fenton going for the point, and Cork are in front after 35 seconds thanks to John Fenton.
We started off the game and Cork were all over us, and it looked like, you know, here we go.
Looking for Cork's 4th point. This is a dream start for the Munster and All-Ireland champions, going in pursuit of a 6th.
Cork looked at various stages like they were going to hammer us.
John Fenton right on that 65-metre line, straight in front of the posts, and he doesn't miss with that kind of gift opportunity. 7 points to 1.
I mean, really, you've lost your chance.
Touchdown by Pat Hartnett.
But, you know, then that man appears, English. A wonder strike. A really, really brilliant score that brought us back into the game before half-time. And again, who got the equaliser?
Nicholas English going through.
English. It's the last puck of the game.
So the sides are level, and there will be extra time.
We had so much pent-up desire at that stage. We'd have to win in extra time was my feeling.
And because of that great late point, Tipperary gets a tremendous ovation from their own supporters.
Every team trying to emerge need players of All-Ireland standing and players that feel they're of an All-Ireland standing.
And Tips seem to be far superior in midfield at the moment.
When suddenly the shackles are thrown off, teams just do extraordinary things.
It came over to Brown. Michael Doyle. Tipperary have scored. It's a goal for Tipperary.
The players are now starting to believe. It's almost like a roll of thunder. This isn't going to be stopped.
Michael Keating, the coach, who must be awfully pleased with his side. 2 goals in front. John Kennedy, the sideline taker, with 2 minutes to go.
The realisation came that we were going to win it, which, you know, not till we were about 7 or 8 points in front, given all the traumas that had gone previously, did we believe that we were going to win it in extra time.
That's unbelievable! The Tip fans are racing in after 16 long years in the wilderness. Victory belongs, and deservedly so, to the Premier County.
I remember going up the steps of the stand, and my father, God rest him, and my youngest brother was with him, and you know, to see them on the way up the stand was magic.
The famine is over.
Of all the days that I was involved, that victory surpassed everything else for me.
By the way, one man, and alone in the crowd.
For a long time, to see someone in the south carrying a hurling stick just meant they were going to play hurling. North of the border, that could often be seen a very different thing altogether. That one item, the hurling stick, came to embody, for many, many years after partition, a political symbol.
When the Irish Volunteer Movement was established in 1914, it didn't have rifles. It wasn't as well equipped or as well organised as the Ulster Volunteer Force. So what did they use? They used hurling sticks to drill a military formation.
This was very useful to Irish volunteers who could assemble under the pretense of playing a game of hurling. And what this did in the eyes of people of a unionist persuasion was this reinforced in their minds that the hurling stick and the game of hurling itself by extension was very much part of the militant Republican movement. That perception survived. You know, it didn't go away.
The world that we live in now is a lot different from the world that I started playing inter-county hurling in.
It's 3:20 in the afternoon, and for the last 20 minutes Belfast has been rocked by the biggest bombing offensive seen in the city this year.
Growing up in the Glens of Antrim, hurling became very much part of our identity through the 80s and the 70s. When you walked down the street in Thurles, you were saying you're a hurler if you called a hurl. If you walked down the street with hurling Belfast, you were also saying what your religion was, who you voted for, and all that baggage that came with it, and that was just a fact of life. We had politicians that actually believed that the GA was their way of play in the sporting wing of the Provost. When I started hurling with the county, like, you had to be aware of crossing the border and checkpoints and soldiers coming onto the bus.
What's described as a semi-permanent checkpoint has been established by British soldiers.
Every night you went out the door, you were guaranteed you were going to be stopped.
And again, and again, and again. What?
It's hard to believe now, but I remember us having security guards when we trained, and we had scout cars going ahead of the bus at times. Travelling to and from matches just wasn't safe.
Miami bandsmen left the Castle Ballroom in Banbridge just before 2 this morning and straight into a carefully prepared ambush.
We all know stories of the Miami shoe band going over the border.
A statement from the UVF accepts responsibility for the shooting.
We had bus loads of young hurlers coming up over the border and late at night coming from playing Kerry and places like that. If you didn't come from a very strong GA family, you didn't want your kids travelling over borders at that time of night and walking down the street with hurls. But for me, the game became more important to you because it was your identity, and the love for the game just over-trumped everything. The Glens of Antrim is an area about 10 miles from Scotland, and within that 30-mile radius is a very strong pocket of hurling.
They love it like nowhere else on earth, like they do in the Glens of Antrim. But geographically, they're closer to Scotland than they are to the hurling areas.
Geography does us no favours. We don't have the numbers of a Cork or a Kilkenny or a Tipperary. So the Antrim that I grew up seeing was always a second tier. But we had some of the best players to play for Antrim in the past 50 years all come along at the one time. And I happened to be lucky enough to be in that team.
Both the Antrim and Offaly teams are already out on the field for the first semi-final.
We got into Division 1 and stayed there.
Is this to be a fourth All-Ireland final appearance in the 80s for Offaly, or perhaps a first ever for Antrim?
It's all to play for, and away we go.
Antrim are a Division 1 team. They could go with the best of them. So it wasn't a huge surprise that they were going to be very competitive against Offaly.
James McNaughton responds to the encouragement from the crowd here. Drops the ball down towards the corner forward off McCuttridge. Yes!
That group of players that arrived in the mid-80s with a lot of great characters, a lot of leaders all within the team.
This is Dominic McKinley. High and gloriously over the bar.
And we had a sense of belief and we were driven.
They're playing inspirational stuff.
No, it's like a perfect storm.
Antrim fighting for every ball. Offaly just not able to get their act together. Ball comes in talking about McCuttridge. Yes! A goal for Antrim. It's them 2 goals in front. Arches in her mouth, and she's just praying for that final whistle to go. In comes in McCarry. This could well be it. Yes!
I don't think anybody expected that they would beat Offaly.
The final whistle. Remember today, Antrim qualify for the very first time since 1943 for the All-Ireland Hurling
feet, not only from Antrim, but in fairness, it must be said, on their feet from Offaly as well.
I think for a lot of these young people, it's going to be a great start to their hurling careers, the fact that they've been around a team that has reached the All-Ireland final.
Casement Park and the well-wishers have turned up in their thousands.
Nobody had experience of being in an All-Ireland final before. Antrim made the last All-Ireland before that was 1943.
They can now really believe it. Antrim are on their way.
On All-Ireland Finals Day, I used to always go to Croke Park very early to see, you know, the preparations, to see it when 'tis silent and lots of people walking around silently. There might be 2 or 3 together, but they're not speaking. There's something in there. It's only a few hours away.
So All-Ireland Final Day for me, you're on the bus with a Garda escort bringing you to Dublin city centre.
There's an awkwardness, there's a nervousness, there's an eeriness on the bus. You know, the closer you get to Croke Park, you start to see the splash of colour.
You've seen a sea of people like just around you.
You know, every little indication like that goes, I'm a little closer, there's something big coming. Before you know it, you're in the bowels of Croke Park. This is it. 70,000, 80,000 people out there. There's a different feel to it. There's more security men around, there's more TV around.
James, 4 minutes exactly. Yeah.
It's nearly like what you see in the Premiership or NFL.
Okay, look, bye.
You're trying to keep focus. You go in the dressing room like usually an hour beforehand.
You know, at that stage, you're trying to relax.
When you're in the circle before the match, and everybody looks each other in the eye all the way around, nobody's got their head facing the floor, you have something then and you have a connection.
The pep talk just before you went out, it was low, hurleys banging off everything and anything to try and get you really motivated up to a point where you were at boiling point.
And then the knock would come on the door. And the sound of the cogs running out into the tunnel, and then the field hits you.
Your legs are like jelly for a first few minutes, and you're saying, did I do any training at all? You can't hear anything that's being said. So a guy could be 2 yards, 5 yards away from you. When they're calling out your name on the intercom system, you're telling yourself, don't be listening to that, focus on the game. But you're obviously, when you tell yourself not to do something, you always do it, and you do hear your name, and then you feel guilty.
The parade and, you know, shaking hands, all of that goes with the day. Like, the danger is that it's such an occasion, but it's not actually an occasion for a player. It's where you really got to be at the top of your game and you got to perform.
You know, it's unbelievable feeling waiting for the ref to throw in that ball.
Oh yeah, man, you could cut the tension with a knife.
free throws in the ball, and next minute there's war for 78 minutes, and that's what it is.
Game is up.
It's war for 78 minutes.
We had a healthy respect for Antrim, but I and the Tipperary team of '89 was very ready for the All-Ireland final.
English, Fox and Hogan in goal all looked sharp.
We happened to meet a great Tipperary team that hadn't won an All-Ireland in 18 years. They were a smashing team, coming hungry.
Antrim were the team that were in it for the first time.
Like, we were getting TV cameras and we were getting blazers the year before. We couldn't get hurling balls to train with. It all became very surreal to us. We get carried away with the whole thing.
68,000 people here, a capacity crowded Croke Park. And Pat Delaney gets this 102nd All-Ireland hurling final underway.
An underdog really needs a good start, and ultimately they got chances to do that.
Well set up, in towards Terence McNaughton. McNaughton with the ball in his hands, looking for space, not getting it. Bobby Ryan closing it down quickly.
But they didn't take those chances.
Met by Nicky English, meeting James McNaughton, and that's a good one. That's a beauty. The best ball to discuss the match so far.
We didn't have the same fight as we did in the semi-final, or the same belief or the same desire. We were happy just to get there, and that wasn't the way to go into an All-Ireland final.
Superb! The confident leaders, and she can smoke another one during half-time. Aidan Ryan, who shared in their monster triumphs, on to Nicky English. Oh, it's a bullet! It's a superb goal! An exquisite shot! Precision shooting from English!
Looking back on it now, like, we were just lambs to the slaughter. Like.
Bobby Ryan receives the McCarthy Cup. Tipperary have bridged an 18-year gap. They are the worthy champions.
That team started to break up very quick after '89. We didn't have the same commitment or the same quality of players maybe coming through. And then for a lot of years we kind of went into the wilderness again.
Following the Omagh bombing, the so-called Real IRA announced a suspension of its campaign and said it was considering a permanent ceasefire.
Well, I look forward equally to a new era of friendship and reconciliation between Unionists and Nationalists.
I have two sons now that grew up in a totally different world, a totally different environment. My mother had worries that my wife doesn't about her sons. It has changed beyond recognition in just my lifetime, like. We have people playing the games now that have no hurling background, or their brothers didn't do it, or their fathers didn't do it, but they're somewhere better players. I don't think because I never won an All-Ireland that I'm a failure. Like, you know, I think because I played the game, it's been a great success. It all depends how you judge success.
That residual Wexford feel for that game is in our DNA. Because they heard our parents talk about it. We heard our grandparents talk about it.
What a great day it has been for Wexford, for not only have they won...
I would be disappointed looking back on history to think we never sustained ourselves at the top.
Our history was documented in the 90s with near misses.
We were the bridesmaids.
Dropped in towards Scallon. Story. Here's Scallon. Stop brilliantly.
Before the 90s, there was no psychology. Winners were winners. They had that mentality, and that's what carried them through. In the media, it was probably a perception that we really didn't have the guts or the blood to actually win something. In '95, a certain gentleman called Liam Griffin came into the fray.
Hurling is a thinking man's game. Instead of giving out, oh, bloody hell, it was no good and this wasn't good, why did it go wrong? Where did it go wrong? Discipline for me was everything. I came across the Shaolin monks, and I actually saw the sports of the East and how you could walk up to a man and bow, come in with an inch of taking his life, and then bow again and walk away. But in our case, we tried to rip his head off. But you know what? If you don't think about it mentally, discipline won't happen. It won't happen. If I pull a fella's helmet off today, I could get suspended.
We sorted out all the gimmies. You should be fit enough. That's a gimme. Your hurling should be good enough, so that's a gimme. You're getting rid of the doubts and the maybes. He had you believing after a month that you were going to win something.
The turning point for me was that 1996 Leinster final.
The game against Offaly in the Leinster final was much more than a game. If we don't get this right, with all due respects, Liverpool will become more important in County Wexford than Wexford.
A 140 years ago, the heroes of '98 gazed down on Enniscorthy from Vinegar Hill.
I actually thought about who we were and where we came from, and I thought about 1798.
The pikemen march again to the top of Vinegar Hill, the objective for which so many of their forefathers gave their lives.
And I wrote a speech.
So going to the Leinster final in '96, we stopped on the Wexford-Wicklow border.
Like, we're going to the Leinster final, next minute the bus stops. I said to someone, we have to break it down. Do you know, the supporters going up along. What are you doing, lads? What's going on? What are you doing? We don't know. We don't know.
We got him off the bus, and I was fired up. I'll be honest, I was fired up. And then I said, I'm from Wexford, for Christ's sake. We gave him Rackard, we gave him all of the great players, we gave him the 50s.
The All-Ireland champions of 1950.
People had died in this county just for this to be Wexford people. And great Wexford teams have gone to Dublin and come that road alive. We're going to walk out of Wexford, and we're going to walk into Wicklow, and we're going to get back on the bus when we walk out. When we step back in foot, we're bringing back this cup.
I remember they were laughing and going, fuck, that's serious.
People like Tom Dempsey, this is it. There's no more talking. They've tried and failed in the past.
We won our last Leinster final in 1977. So going to that game, Offaly were outright favourites to win it.
Finally, things are underway. Shane McGuckian giving a loose ball to Martin Story. He salutes the Wexford crowd with a clenched fist.
We went the 3 points up to Offaly with 5 minutes to go.
Determination etched on Larry Murphy's face.
But rather than sitting back waiting for the final whistle, we went 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points up.
Martin Story. Another club for Wexford. It's all over, surely. Wexford are Leinster champions. Such joy, such emotion.
Liam Griffin kept saying to us, it's our destiny.
For the first time since 1977.
So eventually we started to believe it.
Fox Fly say never happen.
The ancient town of Enniscorthy, just like the whole of the County Wexford, is absolutely abuzz with expectation.
You know, in any walk of life, you mentally rehearse all you're going to do. So we brought that to the field in 1996. We used a method called visualization, whereby we went through every aspect of the game, visualized it, played the game. It was a mental rehearsal. It was the only time we ever played in a final, bear in mind. So we had to get it right that one day. So we used the traffic light system.
You can't do anything until the light's green.
They're the first team out for the 1996 All-Ireland Hurling Final, led by Martin Storey.
When we were leaving the dressing room, Liam Griffin said very clearly, "You're on red."
It's on red. You're not going anywhere. Don't start wasting all your energy getting fired up.
And Limerick about to come out. Joe Quaid and the Reds. Tense in the dressing room, we hear.
It would seem that Wexford are a bit more relaxed. Now the danger time is now. You know, they came out, there's 20 minutes to go from when you come onto the field.
Now you're going out at a specific time, introducing the lads to the president, and then you are marching.
People watching this match in so many parts of the world today.
The battle has begun already. I think Limerick have broken away from the parade.
To be honest, I felt that Limerick would break before the march was over, because some teams do that, like to make, it's a psychological thing as well, to do it and you kind of follow their lead.
I knew I was not breaking. That I was walking in front of Hill 16 where the Wexford supporters were camped like.
That's remarkable coolness by Martin Storey and by the Wexford players, just to continue marching along. There they are, looking up at their fans on Hill 16, thousands upon thousands.
I remember this purple and gold sea of noise just greeted me, and I have to admit that my legs almost gave way.
Limerick broke rank. So we knew we had him psychologically in that sense. We were still united and together. Totally united.
And Limerick now for the past 3 minutes have been in their places. Here they break.
About 5 minutes before the game, Liam had people going to each player shouting, "Amber, Amber, start getting yourself up for this game." And then just before the game started,
somebody shouted, "Lights green." And then it was hell for leather.
Back to the psychology, we were conditioned to the next ball.
So it's the next ball every time, it's the next ball. So if you drive a wide, it's the next ball. If you make a mistake, it's the next ball.
To challenge, it's still Larry Murphy. He's in the clear, he's got a score.
And that keeps you in the moment. And if you've got everybody thinking like that, that's your best chance.
Larry Murphy's in there challenging Tom Dempsey as well. And it's a goal for Wexford. And Tom Dempsey scored.
You're in the zone, there's no doubt about it. But that game was a long way from over.
Let's have another look at this again. This is where the throw-in came.
Ball, yes.
Oh, the second time then he did follow through. Oh, he sent him off.
When we lost Eamon in the first half, like, we were thinking, geez, we're going to be up again. And we went in at half-time and
Wexford, of course, down 14 players. Eamon Scallon having been sent off.
This was the day of all days that we had to keep our discipline now. Because my point was, you can go out there, you can look for revenge, but in a 3/4 of an hour time, that place is going to be full of seagulls. This is only a field. If we go out there and keep our discipline in the second half, we can still win this game. But if we lose our discipline, we definitely will not win it.
Wexford are down to 14 players. The game is tied up.
we didn't panic when we were a man down. We just stuck to exactly what we were supposed to do. Like.
And well topped over the bar.
We were holding a real narrow lead. A goal was going to put Limerick ahead.
Low ball inside John O'Connor. Against Podge Tobin. Foley coming in and another.
So for the last, we said, 7 or 8 minutes, it was walking on eggshells.
Is Liam Griffin about to lead his side into a first All-Ireland victory? And it's all over, is it? It's all over! There was no time left, and Wexford are the champions. They've won their 6th All-Ireland final.
I remember the relief, and I just stood there.
Side for the first time since 1968.
We won. It's over. I remember looking and you could see just...
They're waiting for it. They've waited a long time. This is what Martin Storey has dreamed about. The team of 68 can take a back seat. It's now about the men of 96. Wexford are the All-Ireland hurling champions.
After playing for so long, for once, you were the team up there receiving the cup and not looking up at someone else getting it.
We've been described as the bridesmaids of hurling. Well, today we got married.
The psychology, maybe you were a little bit unaware of it beforehand, that you just went out, played the game, and you came back in. You didn't think as deeply about it pre-Griffin as you did post-Griffin.
You have people who have dreams, right? But most dreams, they're not attainable. My dream was to play in Croke Park and to represent Cork, right? That was the drug for me.
I don't think I'll ever get that buzz that I got of pulling on that Kilkenny jersey and running out in Croke Park.
And Kilkenny are ready for action.
Sorry, Siobhan, she's my wife, and I know a wedding day was like it was a big day for us, but sorry, like, it doesn't compare to playing with Cork and All-Ireland final day.
Sean Ogle had been the captain.
They never realise that all the stars thinks it never stops. But the great thing is it stops for them, but it keeps on going for the game. So you get these players who are top of their game, and then suddenly you see just over their shoulder, just coming down the road behind them, is the next and the next star, you know, the next Ring, the next Owen Kelly, Brian Wheelahan.
And Brian Cody now with the ball for Kilkenny.
I was a much better player than a manager, you know. I almost forget myself that I actually had the privilege of playing the game for a long, long time as well. If I could have stayed hurling, stayed playing the game, that's what I would have done, of course. And I think all hurlers are the same. If you could play forever, you would, and you can't.
A wet day, and young fellas passing us out, and young fellas hitting us that we weren't able to hit back. Everybody has that realisation, you know, your day has come and your hour has come.
We think that we're still that young kid that started off in the street, you know, puck and ball, and as long as you're doing that you're going to be like Oisin and the horse and Tiernan O.
Nicky English there and Anthony Daly, men who have sampled the joy of being here on the big day before, winners both.
It's just over, like, you just go back into the stands.
But the beauty about when you finish off into county, you still have a club to go back to.
Barry Barrington, come in here to me. Come in here, boys. That's it. I think it's going really well, boys, right? I think we're playing really, really well. But when you get it in your hand, we're always saying don't hit the ball standing, aren't we? So if you can get it in your hand at all, try to move.
You feel that you have to pass on your knowledge to the next generation.
Good ball. Good hit.
And I think that's all any of us have. We're not getting that out of it, but we can feel that we've left our footprint in it.
What we do, and we play the ball, and when we played the ball in that second half, Sean, look at this man. Does he look like he's 6'6"? No, but I'll tell you, he played like a man that was 6'6". Why? Because he never stops running, and he always keeps working. And that's what we try to do. So well done, boys. That was great tonight. Good stuff.
In your head, you never stop playing. Like, I have 2 hurleys in the back of my car with a bag of slitters, like.
I've passed through at my stage. I'm now a supporter. I coach, you know, I follow, I spectate, I shout, I roar. The game moves on and you got to move on with it.
Because at the end of the day,
All you have maybe is, right, you have some medals, but you have the memories.
The friends that you made, the colleagues that you made, the really, really vibrant scene that teaches you so much, not just from a sporting context, but about life.
Playing the game was really the thing. Hurling, you know, it's a precious game. It isn't everyone can play it, no matter how they try.
Very well held there and courageously held by Len Gaynor.
I'm 73 years of age now, and I still have a great feeling about being able to do that. Not boastful by any means, but just a feeling inside, you know, well, I wasn't able to do much more in life, but I was able to play hurling anyway, you know.